Well, summer's halfway over and we have been doing a bunch of robot lawnmower testing. So today we're going to be doing a ranking of all the different robot mowers that I've tested this year and some that I tested last year, just to do a follow-up on how they are doing. Now, full disclosure, this video is sponsored by ECOVACS, but no robot is safe today because I just had the ECOVACS get stuck. And so that happens. All the robot lawnmowers get stuck. None of them have exactly what I want to have, but they all have some good things. So today I'm going to talk about what I like and don't like about each of these and which one is overall like my top pick that I think is going to do the best for you as a homeowner. So first off, let's start over here with the Lymow. Then this is the first version of Lymow. This year they did come out with a new version that had some updated things, but from what I've seen online, there are some problems with it. There is a heating issue on the front. People are putting ice packs on it to try and get it working properly, but I don't know. I haven't had experience with that, but here is my experience with the original Lymow. This is an RTK based system, so it uses an antenna to be able to navigate. Now, I mapped my entire block and the Lymow was able to drive all the way around it. I was very impressed by that. So as long as you have great view of the sky, an RTK antenna can work great. And this is a huge cutting deck and it is able to cut quickly. I have a pretty small yard at my house and it was able to get through that in no problem. My biggest issue with it is it's huge. Just getting it around, moving it here and there is massive. You can manually drive it, but it's just a little too big for a smaller yard. So while it is capable of a much bigger area, not the best for small yards, it also was able to handle a giant hill with no problem. And one of the things I did have an issue with is it's supposed to like go onto the V-slam when it doesn't have connection to the RTK. And we saw one or two issues where if we had a bad RTK signal and it was too close to the home, then the Lymow got off a little bit and it wasn't able to perfectly get an area and did get stuck a few times. So overall, I think the system works great, but having that RTK and not properly falling back to the V-slam kind of limited what it can do. And then it's just big, but it does a really, really good cut. Now moving on to the eufy E18. Now this is such an interesting robot lawnmower. You just put it on your yard and it figures out where your yard is. There was no manual mapping to be done. It just did it all, which was pretty cool, but that gives some problems when you have a yard right next to your yard. You know, it's gonna automatically try and map your neighbor's yard. So I kind of had to do some things to figure out how to get it mapped correctly, and then you can set a boundary once it's mapped, and it works pretty good. Now, this does the job. It's slow, but it can complete the job. Now down here, you only have the one blade, or you have the 3 blades on the small little track there, which does a pretty good job. Here, let's take a look at Lymow real quick. You can just see how big those are, and there's some real lawnmower blades there that work great. So this does the job, good for small yards, but it just takes so much time. Like I think there is a faster setting now, but it's still like, wow, this is going to take forever. But it seemed to navigate just fine. In the initial review that I did, my Wi-Fi wouldn't work. So I think they did update that. It made it better. But yeah, just overall did it okay. Not the best, but it is very functional and can complete the job. Next, over here, we have 2 Mammotion robots. Up here, we have the new Luba 3, which has LiDAR. And then back here, we have the Luba Mini, which we have been using all the way since last year, which we're gonna talk about. So Mammotion has been using RTKs. They still use RTKs. So it is relaying to the antenna, or the satellites are relaying directly to this. And I don't know what it is, but we cannot have a good signal, whether we have the RTK in a good place, but there's always an issue where the robot will just pause in the middle of nowhere and wait. We're getting notifications all the time that the robot has started working, and then all of a sudden it pauses and it doesn't tell you why, and then it keeps working and then it pauses, and it doesn't really have a clear answer of why that is happening. They have now gone to an RTK, or a net RTK, on the iNavi system, so you don't actually have to use the RTK antennas, and it can just do it with the robot. That seemed to have improved some of the things that we are having an issue with, but then we now have another issue with the Mini here, where the rotor, or this, it keeps jamming. So it won't mow. Like it mows a little bit. I took the whole thing apart, couldn't figure it out. So just over time, they do wear out, I guess. Now this did have more blades, so that's nice that you have the 6 blades on here. So this has a really good cut, and it's small. I like how it's able to get around and go everywhere it needs to go, but you do have so much width on the side, it can't do a great job at edging right up to the edge of the yard, which is very important to me so that I have less weed eating to do once I'm done. The vision on here is good. You know, so far all the obstacle avoidance all have worked pretty well, but that is our issue where we just keep having these weird problems with Mammotion where it will not finish the lawn. So that's the Mini. Cool. The new ones that have LiDAR probably are a little bit better, but they just kind of take their time. And this one is pretty slow. It doesn't have that faster speeds. Over here with the Luba 3, this new one that we've tested out this year has worked great. The new LiDAR majorly improved that problem with it not being able to connect to the antenna or connect to the RTK. And it just seemed like it knew what it was doing. It knew where to go and just drove in that direction instead of just kind of thinking. Some of the older like Luba 2 will just kind of spin and try and decide where it needs to go, and then it will go. So it takes a long time. On the bottom here, I do love the 2 discs here, and they have kind of a new design that is supposed to help get rid of the grass as it is mulching the lawn. And then here we have those 12 blades, which is awesome. Tons of blades on there, so it does a really good cut. This has probably one of the best patterns just because it's a little bit bigger, but it can't get like really close up to the edge. We have this huge lip here, so we're still having quite a bit of edging that needs to be done. But the LiDAR definitely improved it being able to complete the job without constantly getting stuck. That being said, this is one of the robots I see most people have with the most issues. Every time there's a software update, it breaks something where it was working just fine, and then all of a sudden the robot is just spinning and tearing up lawns. The wheels here, they work if you have a nice manicured lawn. If you have dirt patches, you will see the Luba 3 just kind of start spinning and not be able to go anywhere, even if there's just a little bit of dirt or it's a little wet. Even though it has all-wheel drive, it isn't able to get past basic obstacles, which is super annoying. You have this massive robot lawnmower and it can't complete the job, and so maybe a little bit more traction could help there. But I think they need to maybe make a little adjustment in how it works so that it can do a better job at getting itself unstuck. I just feel like as soon as it gets stuck, it doesn't even try to get out. It's just like, oh, we're stuck, we need help. So there's a lot of intervention with the Luba 3 as well. Now next, let's move on to the ECOVACS. So over here we have the A3000 Pro, and back here we have the O1000 Pro. Both of these are LiDAR based, and last year ECOVACS was the first LiDAR based robot lawnmower that we saw, and we tried it on this lawn and it was so good. This lawn is the hardest lawn to mow because it has a bunch of cliffs without a concrete manicured edge. Whatever robot we test in this lawn is always getting stuck, so it's a great lawn to test things out in, but the ECOVACS did really, really well. Well, this year, the new A3000 Pro has the new true edge trimmer on the side. So it has the LiDAR, it does everything the old model could do, but now it can do the edging. So if we look here, this has a nice wide deck with the 2 cutting blades, and they're offset, so there's never a line left, so they're overlapping just a little bit. And then here it has the 3 different blades, which works well. One of the things the A3000 has is it's just 2-wheel drive, so it does not have the all-wheel drive like the Luba. It would be nice if it did, because it gets stuck as well, but I will say this tries harder than any other robot to try and get out. And I know that because every time it gets stuck, you'll move it and you'll see those tracks making a hole in the ground. So not great that it's making that hole and getting more stuck, but I like that it does attempt to push itself out so that it can keep going and doesn't give up too soon. Sometimes it has been able to work its way out, so I think that's great it does that. Now, one of the other really interesting things, I did have one issue where it just didn't want to go forward. It kept backing up, and I was like, why is it scared? And I think the lens just got too dirty, and it kept thinking there was an object in front of it. Cleaning the lens, that issue went away. I talked about getting stuck. There's one more thing to talk about, but let's move back here to the O1000. So this is a smaller yard. It's more for 1/4 of an acre, where this is 3/4 of an acre, 3/4 of an acre, probably 1/4 acre, a lot. I don't remember, maybe an acre. And then back here, probably another 1/4 of an acre. But here on the Pro, you just have the one disc with 3 blades. So smaller, better for smaller yards. This one has worked well on my yard, and I don't think it's actually ever gotten stuck. It's done the job. It's able to maneuver around where it needs to go. But again, this doesn't have edge all the way up to the side, but this has the true edge trimmer. Get to that in a second. So this uses the LiDAR, works great. I love the LiDAR based ones because there's no RTK you have to plug in. It just is plugged in, you turn it on, and then it can figure out where it is, and it knows your yard because of the map it's made through LiDAR. Love how there is no antenna with the LiDAR robots. Definitely my favorite robot lawnmowers. They just know what they're doing. Now, one other main difference between the bigger one and the smaller one here is the voltage platform they're based on. The A3000 Pro is a 32 volt platform, and this is not that. So what that means is this just knows how to get the job done. As soon as it starts going, you have it set on this, fastest speed, and it just cruises, and it knows its move before the next move. So it's already one step ahead, where some of the other robot lawnmowers, they just look like they're thinking, like they just move like a sloth and take a lot of time. But this one, every time it goes, it gets the job done. Just mowing the lawn earlier today with it, I was like, oh, I need to set up my time-lapse camera, and it pretty much was halfway done with the yard before I could even get that out. So I just used my regular camera, and it got it done so fast. I didn't even need to use a time-lapse camera. The GOAT O1000 Pro, I'd say its biggest limitation is its speed. Because it doesn't have as much power, it just can't go as quick. So it's done the job. I've been having it mow my lawn the most this year, but it just takes a little bit of time. So the great thing about robot lawnmowers, you just set it and forget it, and you come back and get the job done. The biggest problem with them is if they get stuck when you go out. And that is something we are still experiencing on the ECOVACS. One of the things that they do, which I wish they would fix, is at the charging dock, for some reason, they think the grass in the app, the grass comes right up to the charging dock or overlaps the charging dock. And so no matter where you put the charging dock, even if it's off grass, it's still going to try and edge right up against the charging dock, where I don't want that to happen, because there is dirt, soft dirt, and it could get stuck. So I really think they need to fix that. Is what we have done instead is we have now placed bricks all over the lawn where it keeps getting stuck, so that it now can just drive along that, and that has saved it. So I think that's a way to solve the problem, but that is a bit annoying that a smart robot lawnmower can't just not drive where we don't want it to drive. It's set to default. You can't do anything about the charging dock. Now, navigating around the perimeter of the lawn works excellent, and there's a few different modes that you have for this. One of them is you can just have it edge where you mapped. So when you map it, you drive it around, and it just follows exactly where you drove it around, which is very accurate because of that LiDAR. It's done a great job. But my whole goal of the robot lawnmower is to mow less. So I want it to get as close to the edge as possible, and for whatever reason, none of these really know what a edge of a lawn is, and don't know their ability to get as close as they possibly can to that. Because if I drive it too close when I'm mapping, and this is for all the robots, it would then go over the edge and get stuck. But I want it to know where the edge is. And the good news with the ECOVACS robot, there is an option where you can turn it on to get as close to the edge as possible, which is awesome, because then I can even drag exactly where I want it to get as close to the edge as possible, and it will do that. So when it got stuck earlier today, I was trying, can we now drive that mode all the way around this border to get it as close as possible? Because before I turned that on, it was finishing no problem. It wasn't getting stuck at all, but I was pushing its limits today. So now I know, oh, over in the corner here where it gets stuck, I can just erase that section or not draw that section, and it will then not try and get as close there. So I love how I have quick control in the app to be able to adjust that Should it just be able to figure it out? Yes, but it's nice that I can kind of push its limits without remapping the entire yard. While not perfect, I love that there is some customization there on what it can do. Now, lastly, over here, the True Edge Trimmer. Now, this is the first robot lawnmower that has that type of feature where it is not only just using the cutting disc to cut the lawn, but it's saying, hey, we're getting pretty close to the edge. Why don't we just put a weed eater on here so that it can then do a final pass and trim around the border. Now, at first, it wasn't doing exactly what I wanted it to do, but once I figured out about how to choose to get as close to the edge as possible, then using the True Edge Trimmer, we were seeing up to 60–70% of the edge of the lawn be cut with the trimmer, which is great. Knowing that it's going to go out, do the job, and then I only have a little bit of trimming to do is awesome. Now, you can also just use manual mode and you can go out and finish the trimming, which is great. You can just drive it around and finish that. And I was really concerned that it would run out too fast, but it tells you in the app it's out. But if you check in the trimmer, there is still more trimming line. You just need to kind of reset the counter and it will continue to go and complete the job. So that has definitely done better job than I thought. Still not exactly what I want it to do, but I think it's great that it has that feature. The other thing that this can't do is just mow the edge or perimeter of the lawn. I don't know why this model can't and last year's could, but I want to be able to just say, mow the edge, and it'll mow the edge, and then you have an option to just do the trimmer, and it does the trimmer. So still some improvements that could be made there. So that was a lot of information about these robot lawnmowers, but they all do have a little bit of work to do, but they all can get the job done, all depending on the scenario of what your home is like. It's hard to say exactly what's going to work perfect in your lawn because sometimes things work here and sometimes they don't. My one request for all the robot lawnmower companies is have the ability to follow what the edge is and know how to perfectly match the edge without falling off the side. That's my request for all these companies. Please make that happen and make an option in the app to tell me that is happening. But overall, if I were to choose just one of these robot lawnmowers to be the overall best full encompassing robot lawnmower to complete a well-manicured lawn, I'm gonna be going with the ECOVACS A3000 Pro. Now the reasons, because it has LiDAR, it can cover a 3/4 acre lawn, which is pretty big. That means you're not gonna have to worry about the RTK problems. It has the 32-volt platform, meaning it's going to complete the lawn so quickly, and it will have to charge to probably complete that full 3/4 acre, but it will charge up and it will just go right back at it, and it just keeps doing that until you tell it to stop. We've had this on a schedule 2 times a week, every single week, and it just goes out and does the job every single week. We've never had a problem with the timing. Also, every time this mows, my mom texts me a picture of the lawn and says, Brett, the lawn looks so good. She's never done that for a robot lawnmower before. It does have a nice finished look. It has a great cut, and that's really cool that they're seeing how well it's working and they're not having to go and fix it all the time. It is able to just go and complete the task. And then having the trimmer just adds to what it can do. You don't have to have another trimmer. You can have it do most of the work. And then if you really need to, you can still utilize it with the manual mow to go out and do the trimming, which none of the other robot lawnmowers have a trimming option. There's another one today that I didn't feature that trims close, but it cuts your lawn super short. So that one was kind of disqualified from this. But that having the True Edge trimmer makes it the next level, which I hope all of the robot lawnmowers go to, where we can get all the way to the edge without needing to have another device stored in our garage. So there you go. A3000 Pro is the winner today of the best overall robot lawnmower. Will it get stuck? Possibly, but it's going to do the best overall job with the least amount of problems. Easy to move around, simple to get set up, and really a great lawnmower to have in your home. So if you have any further questions about any of these, Please let me know down in the comments below. Hopefully this was as fair as can be. Really, that's my honest thoughts after using all of these lawnmowers. I think they all can get better. Hopefully that happens over time, but we are seeing some good progress over here. So if you're ready to pick up a lawnmower that can do the work for you, make sure you check out the A3000 Pro down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.